Oh my goodness, I look haggard this morning, but good morning. I also really hope I don't give you motion sickness, so I'm gonna keep this clip short and sweet, but I did want to intro this video on the way to the gym this morning. It is Saturday today, week 3 of prep nearly done, which is crazy. And I did just check in this morning. There have been some significant changes since last week, which I am really excited to update you about, and I will as this video goes on. But what I did want to do for this video is a bit of a Q&A, answer some questions. I opened it up for obviously prep related questions, this prep, last prep, off season, training, work, anything, and just general questions as well. So I am going to touch on those throughout the day today. As I said, checked in this morning. I don't have feedback just yet, but happy with scales and not happy with visuals, but that's not my job to be happy or unhappy with the check-in. That's his job, so we'll see what he says. And I am on the way to the gym now for an early session this morning, because I also have physio as well this morning, which I'm excited about it. Like, I always am very excited for my sports massages, but we're doing a 90-minute session. I asked him if we could do an extra long session because I'm kind of in bits, and it has been, sorry, I'm just looking at someone. I'm a bit nervous with the phone out on the street. I need to get me an Osmo Pocket if anyone wants to sponsor me. I'm a bit nervous because it's been a long time since I've been in with him. So yeah, my body is screaming for it. I know it's going to be great. So that's the plan of action today. So in between gym, physio, we're going to cinema today for a prep friendly date. I will be in and out answering questions. Super short walk to the gym complete. It's really nice to actually walk because most mornings I will drive on account of not being able to park my car at my house. Don't talk. So it was nice to get a few steps in this morning, because obviously with having physio today, it is going to be a little bit slower in terms of activity in the earlier part of the day, and the cinema as well. So we probably will be doing a little bit on the walking pad, but good to get a start anyway. While we're here, before I get into my session, I thought I would answer the training related question. So what does my training look like now, and do I think it will change at all? So training for me, I am doing 4 days a week now. Started last prep, I was doing 4 days a week, and then we bumped it up to 5 just based on the fact that I was kind of recovering well. I had the time, I was working in a gym, so I was always there and had the chance and the opportunity to train more. However, we are back to 4 days now this year because of my job. So basically training has to align with the days that I'm not in the office, and there isn't really any room to change that around. There isn't really any flexibility at the moment based on my commute and my office days. But I am relatively happy enough with the 4 days at the moment. I think it's intense enough, and I do think that we have made some changes in this time with that split, so I'm happy. So based on the 4 days, training availability and the improvements that we need to make, I am currently running a full body, glutes, upper and lower. Those are my training days. Areas of prioritization for me, which we know from the last video I briefly mentioned, are upper back, shoulders, glutes and hamstrings. Every single bikini girl is going to have to prioritize glutes and shoulders and hamstrings, so I'm not any different, but I do have to prioritize my upper a little bit more than my lower, I would say, to build that shape that we needed from last year. So yeah, it's been working well. It's nice balance, but obviously hitting the areas we need to hit as a priority, and I think it's done its job, and I can't wait to actually see what's underneath the fluff. Do I see this changing? Not really. I think the only thing that might change is if there are movements that I'm not recovering from that are causing any issues as we get further into prep, then they might be switched out for similar alternatives. But in terms of the split, the exercises, the training days themselves, I don't see this changing, because we did only make this change when I started my job, which was in March. So it hasn't been like, I haven't been doing this for a year, I haven't been doing this for 6 months, I've been doing it for 3. So there is a lot of room still to progress, and there isn't really a huge amount of point of starting to change things up greatly in a prep unless it's called for. So I don't see this changing at all. But yeah, I'm going to do upper. We're starting with laterals, and I've been holding my camera up for the past 4 minutes, so that's a warm up. If I look like I was just beaten up, it's because I was. And I just had my face in a bed for 90 minutes. I am just finished up with Derek there for my 90 minutes treatment, and I need to take a minute before I can drive, I feel. If anybody gets sports massage or deep tissue or anything like that, you know that it really genuinely does take it out of you. So going straight from training to that is a lot. So I do also have coffee on board. I'm going to stop in one of my friends' houses as well, just for a really quick catch up this morning. But before that, I said I would answer another question. So I'm going to keep it really simple for the next one, which was somebody asking what colour bikini I'm going to do this year. And I thought it was quite apt, because this time next week I'm going to be up with Emma picking it out, which is so exciting. I can't believe it. Like, I can't not believe it. And let me just say, I'm happy that my weight has moved this week, because I was honestly terrified to go up and try on bikinis with the way that I was feeling last week, but we're okay this week. So what colour am I going this year? I don't know. I have 2 colours that I felt really strongly about basically since I stepped off stage last year, and one of them I literally took a screenshot of it, I think the day after my show, of a route that I wanted to take. But I've also now just been served so many purple bikinis that I'm like, am I going to be like, is purple going to be my colour? Because obviously I had lilac last year, and I love the thoughts of like a Laura-Lee kind of blue purple, so like much darker than I did, or a much brighter purple, like kind of a medium, I don't know what you would even call it, shade with like pinks, blues going through it. Something is making me lean towards thinking about purple again, definitely. I also really want to try pink. I did try on a pink suit last year, and it just wasn't the right tone for me at all. And again, as I explained kind of in my first video, I just wanted to stand out a bit, and not go with something that everyone else would have. But I do want to revisit pink this year and explore a colour that would suit my skin tone and my hair and everything like that. So I think I'm going to keep the one that I screenshot secret, just in case I do end up going with it, because it would be quite different again from my colouring. But I think the main 2 that I definitely want to explore next week are going to be purple and pink. Ugh. And I might try on a red, because I feel like, I know I'm not going to go for red, but I know that it is like the colour for someone with my colouring. And I didn't try on any red. I didn't go near it last year. So I think I'll try it on just for the experience, just to see what it's like. But yeah, we're definitely gonna try pink and purple and see what happens. Okay, we are back home and a bit less frazzled, although I did have a moment of potentially going hypo as I was leaving my friend's house. But I had a meal with me, so I just ate that in the car before I set off, and then had a very eventful journey home, whereby the road was flooded, and I think my little Fiat did not know what was going on and started screaming at me after going through the flood. So it was a very fun ride home, and I'm very glad I ate when I did and didn't leave it, because I was considering just getting in the car and leaving it until I got home, but I think I probably would have passed out behind the wheel if I didn't eat in that instance. So we made it home in one piece anyway. We'll have to check the car tomorrow, check all the levels and see what's going on. most of the pieces done for today, so all that's left to do is eat 3 more meals, go to the cinema, and just switch off, I suppose. I have a couple of check-ins to do as well, which I will do with my online clients. But in terms of picking up on the questions, I did have one asking how I manage cravings if I get them. So of course I get them. I think everybody gets them, like whether you're in prep, whether you're a lifestyle client and you're just trying to do a little bit of a tidy up. Depends on the time of the month as well for a lot of girls. I don't really find that will affect me, so I don't find that my cycle will affect my cravings or what I want to eat or if I'm hungrier. But of course I do get cravings, and as I get further into prep and food gets lower, they will obviously come a lot more frequently. For me, it tends to be jellies. Like I'm such a sweet person. I would rather have jellies over chocolate, and I'd rather have like sweet over crisps and stuff like that. So for me, that is what I tend to crave, especially when I'm tired, like after a day of work in last prep, because I worked beside a Tesco, and if I'd have to go and pick up anything, I would be like, I'd just walk down the sweets aisle and just stare at all of them. Which is so sad, but I would, because obviously like jellies are such quick release energy. They're just gonna get right into your bloodstream, and you know that after a long day, if you're wrecked and all you want is a bit of sugar injection, that's going to be the way to go. So that would be my main craving. Like obviously then I think you think you're like, oh, I love a burger, or I love a pizza, or I love pasta, or just something different to what I'm eating right now. But the cravings for actual meals themselves or takeaways, they tend to pass a lot quicker. But I do think about the sweets a lot. Hasn't started yet, don't worry. But how do I manage them? There are a few ways. So the first thing is just making sure that I'm eating on my schedule. So I eat around the same time every day. And what that means is my body is used to getting food at certain intervals. So cravings may come if I miss those intervals. If I leave it a little bit longer in between meals, that's when you're going to start to look elsewhere for that satisfaction. So meal timings is huge. Obviously drinking a lot of water. I drink so much water throughout the year, whether I'm in prep or not. Caffeine as well is a good, I know you probably shouldn't really be advertising appetite suppressants, but it is a good appetite suppressant. So if it is really bad, have a coffee, a black coffee if you're on a diet. Have a Monster, have a Pepsi Max. Speaking of Pepsi Max, the sugar-free fizzy drinks are just a lifesaver because you are getting that sweetness without the calories, and just remembering that like I'm doing this for a reason, and the reason for me doing this is so much stronger than the reason for me wanting to have some jellies. So I think having something that means so much to me in this goal of stepping back on stage is the simplest way to manage cravings. And I know that might not be the most helpful advice in the world, but it is the truth. It is just thinking about, if I give in to this craving, this means that I haven't given it 100%, and I cannot go on stage saying that I haven't given 100%, because any less than that, and do you really think that you have earned the right to win, to do well, to place? I don't know. So yeah, the goal is kind of the best craving management tool that I would have. But another thing would be as well just distracting yourself and distracting myself. I'm the kind of person who, even when I'm in prep, like I do like to plan things. I like to go and see my friends, catch up, see my family. Like in between my 2 shows last year, I was in Tato Park, which is a theme park local to me, on roller coasters, and I was having a great time. And that was when I was on like barely any carbs and I still had all the energy in the world. So for me, it is a case of obviously leaning on those things, so remembering the goal and remembering how strong that is compared to the craving that I have. Meal timings, hydrating, and then the 0-calorie drinks as well are a lifesaver, as well as keeping busy too. Another one I wanted to touch on was a question on, does my prep / off season affect the relationship? So obviously Nick is also in this world and in this industry. So the first thing is that obviously I am very lucky to have somebody who understands it, and who is kind of the person who got me into it in the first place. So he knows exactly what he is signing up for with me, and he is also in prep at the minute. It is a little bit of a madhouse, and it can be tricky, because obviously when you're in prep, your energy is low. You do have a lot of stuff to tick off. If you're doing lots of cardio, that takes time. Your training takes time. Your steps take time. Your meal prepping takes time and energy. And then at the end of the day, you don't really have much left. So it can be a little tricky in that sense. And I found for myself last year, as I got into prep, again, it's just a case of like, I need to prioritize getting my stuff done, and then I can give you the time that you need. And unfortunately, you know, the more cardio you have to do, the more steps you have to do, it does take more time and more energy. So it can be tricky to give that quality time and that quality attention to your partner. But it's just remembering that when you do have that time together, to actually be present in that time. So I think this year is going to be very different because we live together now, whereas last year we didn't. We were kind of limited to seeing each other on the weekends outside of work. We did work in the same gym, so that quality time was a bit more limited, whereas now we're obviously in the same place every morning, every evening. We wake up, we go to sleep together. So it's a case of really being present in those times that we do have in the house together. Whoever isn't in prep or whoever is further away from shows, try to be that support system for the other person who is closer to shows or deeper in prep or struggling. Just try and help in any way that you can, whether it's offering to do the food shop, whether it's offering to prep something, to get something ready for when they're going to come home, whether it's just being a presence. And they might not even, you know, you might not even want to talk at some points, and that's okay. And as the partner, it's understanding that it's not personal to you. They are not mad at you. They are not feeling any sort of negative way about you, but they're just fucking wrecked. And just being able to be okay with that and accept that. And that is also supporting them too. But knowing and making them very, very aware that you are there if they do need that shoulder to cry on, or that support, or whatever they might need, whether that's affection, whether that's space. So I think it could be worse if your partner isn't in this industry and doesn't understand bodybuilding and doesn't understand prepping. If your partner is somebody who is like ridiculously social, wants to go out for drinks every weekend, out for meals all the time, going on 3 holidays in the summer, it is very, very difficult, and that would present a challenge. But the main thing that I would say is just to make sure that your partner fully understands how important this is to you, that this isn't just a case of me starving myself and going on stage like just to twirl around in my tiny bikini. It actually means so much. I am putting so much work into myself, so much discipline, and it's really important to me and really rewarding at the end, I hope. And just explaining that and making sure that they understand that it is really important and it's not just a little diet. So I hope I hope that helps. And I think in terms of like family relationships, friend relationships as well, I have been very, very lucky. My friends are all really supportive. I just scratched my face there and I'm coming out in a rash. That's lovely. My friends are really supportive. Like, the girls were with me for my bikini appointment. They were with me at my Galway show. They drove me there. They drove me to my tan. Like, they drove across the country for it. And they were there throughout, just checking in on me. And even though they are, you know, they're interested in my journey, they are not competitors and they won't be competitors, but they still get it and they fully support me and are there for me. So I have been really lucky. Same with my family. You know, they didn't really get it at the start and they were kind of concerned about what it would look like and what I would look like and how intense it would be for me. But I think, you know, just doing my season proved to them that actually it's not that bad. You know, she didn't turn into the shell of a person, a completely different person than she was before, a completely different daughter, like anything like that. I was the same person. And towards the end, like, my dad would be like, oh, so where's your food at now? Like, are you hungry? Like, what do you have to do this week? How hard is it? Blah, blah, blah. So they were, you know, again, really supportive and invested to a certain extent. Didn't want to pry too much, but they were there, and my parents were also there in Galway, so it was really, really nice. So I think, again, the kind of explanation of how important this is to you is the main thing, because your family and your friends are never going to be like, oh no, I absolutely don't support that, if it's important to you and if it means something to you. They're going to want you to do well in what means something to you. So it's that conversation of, look, this really, really does hold a lot of value for me, that I think is the most important thing to ensure that your relationships stay as strong as possible in this journey. Another one that got asked was the easiest or most enjoyable part of prep versus the hardest. I think the hardest is actually a tough one to answer, because whenever anybody asks me, like, was the training, was the diet harder, what was harder, I kind of just, nothing sticks out to me. The thing that probably sticks out to me the most is the posing, which we know by now. I am like a broken record, but the posing was really hard for me to get the hang of. Yes, the cardio was hard, but you just get into such a routine that you just don't even really think about how hard it is for the most part. And looking back on it now, I don't remember a day where I was like, I can't do this, this is so difficult, this is just horrible, I don't want to do this, blah blah blah. So I do think posing is going to have to be what I say is the hardest. Obviously at the time as well, when I was PTing, like, if I did have a good few hours back to back and a long period of time without food, that could be quite hard, just in terms of like, your brain is not functioning on 100% and you have to be there for other people to make sure they're exercising correctly, safely, and not putting themselves at risk. So that was quite hard towards the end. Actually, ding ding ding, we have a winner. Post show was the hardest. Post-show was the hardest. Like I briefly mentioned before, I had really, really bad digestive issues, GI issues after my show for about a month, if not more. It was probably more, to be honest, on and off, where I was just reacting so horribly to everything. And it's funny because it was delayed. So like, post-show, I went out and I had lovely meals, both shows, a few days of eating a little bit more relaxed, and they had no bad effects on me whatsoever. But it was actually a few weeks down the line when I was back on plan, eating relatively similar foods to what I'd been eating all prep, and it was just not sitting well with me. My tummy was so distended, like, it was bloat, but it was like from right under my chest. It was disgusting. It was so painful. I was crying so much. Tried so many different medications, supplements, different things to try and ease it, and honestly it was horrible. I don't know what else to say. We did a fast, a 24-hour fast. We went and we cut out dairy. We went really low protein. It was just insane. And we finally did just ease back into a bit more normality, but that was definitely the hardest. Like, I remember being like, nobody talks about this. Like, is this only happening to me? Like, I always knew post-show was going to be hard, but I did not know that this side of it was going to be a problem for foods that I've eaten all my life and all my prep, and now they are just completely not agreeing with me. So that was definitely the hardest part, and that is something that I was worried that I wouldn't be able to prep again, because I didn't want to go through that again, and it's not worth it. But things are a lot better now, so fingers crossed it's a little bit smoother coming out of these shows this year, because again, like, if it is a thing where it's a prolonged period of time that I am dealing with it again, I will probably have to reevaluate whether or not it's worth it. It's definitely going to be worth it, because I'm going to be off seasoning for a full year, so I'll have completely forgotten about the pain by then. But no, in all seriousness, yeah, I was very, very concerned that it wouldn't be worth me prepping again because of that. And then, what was the most enjoyable thing or the easiest thing? I don't think anything was easy. I think one of the most enjoyable things for me was actually peak week, which is probably a strange thing to say, but there is so much going on that I found it really, really interesting. And Mike was so hands-on, so on top of things, that it did make it really enjoyable and relatively easy for me. What I didn't like was having to take pictures like 6 times a day to see how I looked after certain meals. But the whole experience of the week, training slightly differently. I know a lot of people don't like doing their pump sessions, which is like lightweight high reps, but I actually love it. And just seeing how your body responds to different food, different amounts of carbs and different stuff like that. It was really interesting and exciting. So I would say peak weeks were fairly easy because Mike made them that way and made them really enjoyable. Yeah, maybe my peak weeks. Very random, probably very controversial answer. What is my long-term goal with competing? So this is one that I didn't obviously think that I would even have to answer or consider last year when I started, because I didn't even know if it was going to be something that I wanted to pursue. It's only really over the last while that I have been like, oh, okay, this is something that I have to now think of as a long-term thing in my life. When I did start this, I knew that the chances of me ever becoming a pro or getting to that level were probably little to none. And to be honest, it wasn't even something that I wanted. I kind of was just like, I don't really think that's ever going to be something that I want to do. It's just not for me. I just want to do it to enjoy it. And that is still my goal. My goal long term is to keep doing it for as long as I truly do enjoy it and love it. And that's kind of the fundamental of it. But there is also a part of me where whenever I see somebody winning their pro card, whenever I listen to them on a podcast talking about winning their pro card, there's 2 podcasts in particular that I mean. One of them is, I was just flipping you guys off. One of them is Mike, my coach, was a guest on Adam Dowling's podcast, and he was talking about Eva, who is his client and also his other coach on the team, who won her pro card last year at Muscle Contest Ireland. And he was talking about that day and that moment, and I remember listening to it and I just cried, and I was like, this is new. And I re-listened again recently enough, just before starting prep this year, and again it just really like got to me. And it was also really interesting listening to him speak about her, because when they had done their previous improvement block, the areas that they had identified that needed to progress and they needed to bring up were very similar to the areas that I am now trying to progress and bring up. So it was kind of like, oh, maybe it could be done. That was one. And also Confessions of a Bikini Pro, maybe, by Celeste Rainsturk, and it was with Kirsty, Team Fit Girl. She won her pro card last year at the Europeans, I think, and she was speaking about that moment. And again, I was just on the bus home from work and I was just crying. So these stories of people winning and seeing people winning, they do really get to me, and I don't think I would have such an emotional response if it wasn't potentially something that deep down I would love. But I think for me, the way that I want to word it and the way that I want to frame my goal isn't to say I want to be an IFBB pro. It's to continue to do this and continue to progress for as long as I do enjoy it, whether or not that ends in a card or not. Because I'm also very aware that I am on the older side to only be starting out. I'm 26, I'm going to be 27 by the time I'm doing my last show this year, and I don't see myself as being a masters competitor. I don't know why, but I just don't. So there is a limited time there. So to put that level of goal on it just isn't really for me. The main thing for me is the enjoyment and the love of it, and to continue to do it until that might start to die down. Maybe it won't ever. We lost the mic. Maybe it won't ever die down. Maybe I'll be like a 50 plus bikini athlete when I'm older. But yeah, that's basically the long-term goal there, is the enjoyment and the love. Once that stays, I'm going to stay. I realised since starting this channel that I am somebody who talks with their hands a lot and moves a lot when I talk. I don't know whether or not I need to get that looked at and tested, so I'm going to use this chance to hold the mic to see if that helps me from shimmying around the place too much. But the next one is basically someone asking, how the hell do you even start? Like, they would love to maybe compete one day and maybe get on stage and prep one day, but they don't even know where to even begin to think about everything. For me, I just started being exposed to people on Instagram more and on YouTube more who were in this side of things in terms of competing. Obviously when I met Nick as well, he was the first person who I'd actually met in person who had competed and who was into bodybuilding in the literal sense of the word, because, you know, people will say, oh yeah, I'm into bodybuilding, but they're not competitors. He was. So obviously meeting him kind of sparked the thought process, and then just being more exposed to it. I don't even really remember how I became more exposed to it, whether I sought it out or whether it started being served to me. I don't know. But what I do know is I did so much research in terms of watching everyone's vlogs, looking at everybody's experiences, listening to podcasts. Then when I thought, okay, yeah, I really do think this is something that I might consider down the line, started to do research for who my coach would be. So I had been with a coach previously who was just more of a lifestyle coach. I did a photo shoot with him, but he would not have been a prep coach. I was his first photo shoot client, myself and another girl at the same time. So I knew if I did want to pursue that down the line, I would have to go elsewhere, because I wanted to go to somebody who had the qualifications. I say qualifications loosely because, you know, there isn't like one official qualification that you need, but the qualification and the experience of being a prep coach and success in the bikini division. So after doing like my more generic overall research in terms of YouTube, Instagram, everything like that, and looking at competitors, I then started to look at coaches in the UK and Ireland was kind of where I based my search, and there are a few top dogs in the UK and in Ireland, and Mike was the first one who I reached out to, and then the only one who I reached out to, because it was just signed, sealed and delivered. Like, I was just really, really happy with the whole inquiry, response, sign up process, where I just felt I didn't even need to look elsewhere. Like, everything just felt right from there. So I did sign up with the first coach that I inquired with, but it was for good reason and it was a great decision. So I officially started with him in August 2023, and, you know, in my like forum I had said I might like to compete one day. So from there, he took a look at my pictures, where I was. He did a bit of a physique assessment in terms of, if you do want to compete, if you do want to do bikini one day, this is where we're going to need to grow. We know those areas already, I don't need to say them. And started a training program that would start to bias those places from the get-go, so from August 2023. And it was never something that I thought that was going to come around the corner very quickly. Initially we had pinpointed early 2025, so early this year, for me to start, and then it ended up getting pushed forward to the end of the season last year, 2024. It was just under a year with Mike before I started my first prep. Now, I had also been training before that for only about 18 months properly in a gym. Previous to 2022, I didn't really have access to a gym. I had access to weights at home, and I would do YouTube videos or Instagram workouts and everything like that, and I was training like a mad thing, but it was mostly cardio and circuits and HIIT and stuff like that with the limited equipment that I had. So 2022 in March was the first time I was ever in a gym. 2022 to 2023, I was with my first coach, learning how to train properly, and I really did learn a lot, but it was more of an overall well-rounded programming rather than specific to that goal, because it wasn't a goal that I had. Did my first diet with him, did my first photo shoot, and then I just thought, okay, I need a goal. And I don't really just want to go into the cycle of just doing photo shoot after photo shoot after photo shoot, because there will come a point where it's like, that's just not rewarding anymore. So I was like, what's the next step up? And then it was this. So yeah, I was with Mike for just under a year before we started prep, training specifically for the bikini division. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So where did I even start? Was just signing up with my first coach, finding a love for training, learning how to train properly, and then doing my first proper programmed strict diet, realizing that I loved having a goal to work towards and an end date and something that meant a lot to me, and then discovering that this whole side of the industry and the world existed, and it looked like something that I might like to do. So that is where I started. I also then, God, I wouldn't even be able to tell you when I started the process of posing. I know that I entered a competition that Marnie ran with rocket posing, which I won a session with Cleo as part of that when she had her as her new coach, and the rest is history. She couldn't get rid of me last year at all. So yeah, since doing that session with Cleo, I signed up with her and we just worked together for the whole year. So if I started prep in the June 2024, I think I started posing in December 2023. Even before, obviously, I did any lessons, I just looked up how to pose on YouTube. It was traumatic, it was terrifying. Looking back at the videos and the pictures is quite hilarious, but everybody has to start somewhere. So yeah, as soon as I knew that it was something that I was going to do and actually strongly consider, and even when I thought it was going to be early 2025 that I was going to be competing, I started learning how to pose well over a year in advance. So if you think it would have been December 23, if not November 2023, all the way up to like March, April 2025 was the initial goal. And I think that's a realistic time period. So if you are considering it, not only doing your research into the right prep coach for you, but also doing your research into the right posing coach as well is going to be huge. So I hope that helps in terms of how do you even begin to process this and figure out a way if it's going to be for you. Finding the right coach is going to be a huge thing, but also doing your research, doing so much research, listening to all the podcasts, watching all of the vlogs, watching what actually happens and what's actually required, and asking questions. Like, ask me, ask anyone else that you see on Instagram. The majority of people are going to see your message and they're going to reply. We are not going to paint it out to be better or worse than it is. We're just going to tell you what it's really like. So yeah, and let's finish off with the question of the video, the one everyone's here for. I'm sure I've used it in the title and maybe the thumbnail. Is, as the winner of a natural competition last year and going for a natural pro qualifier this year, would you ever consider going assisted? Immediately and short term, I would say no, absolutely not, because I, as I've just discussed, haven't actually been doing this and haven't actually been training for bikini to my full potential for that long. I've been doing it for less than 2 years. So do I think I've exhausted my natural potential? No. Is that to say that it isn't something that I have ever thought about and that does not ever cross my mind? No. But I do think it would be very silly of me to just go ahead and say, yep, I will do whatever I need to do at this stage, blah 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 blah, when I have only been doing this for not even 2 years. This whole side of things can have huge repercussions, so many side effects. There is so much research to be done and knowledge to be had about going down this route that I do not have yet. I've never had this conversation with Mike either, by the way, so he could be like, what the hell, she would consider it? That's news to me. But I just think, yeah, it's just not something that I will rush into, and I don't think anybody should. I would be very, 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 very bloody interested to see what would happen. So I would never say never, but not now. But I would love to grow me some huge delts, so I hope that answers the question. That's the best answer that I can give at this time. It's the most honest answer, and I have nothing against people who do it. I have nothing against people who are natural either for their lifetime in the sport. I think no matter what your circumstance is, everybody who steps on stage in the end has put in so much fucking work and deserves to be up there as much as each other, and nobody is more deserving or less deserving because of any of the protocols that they might have had to take to get there. And that is that on that. So I was just about to wrap up, and then I realised that in the first clip today I mentioned that changes had happened this week, and I never mentioned what they were. So just as a quick wrap up, first of all, thank you for your questions. Really do appreciate it. And again, if you do ever have anything else that you want me to talk about or ask me, just fire me a comment or a DM on Instagram. So this week, everyone will be so happy to know that things have moved. So last week, as we know, was a big roller coaster, but this week has been a little bit more smooth, and as a result of that, we're now 1.3 kilos lighter than I was this day last week. So that's pretty good going. I am pretty happy. Now obviously I did mention, did I mention that I woke up feeling a bit uncomfortable, a bit heavy this morning, but I was actually delighted that I was. But my check-in pictures were pretty hard to take, and my poses were pretty hard to get into. So I'm hoping tomorrow, after having the massage today, that things will be a lot better, more comfortable, all flushed out. But yeah, I am 1.3 kilos down, 3 pounds down from last week, and I'm so happy. I feel like it's finally settling now. I'm in a routine. I'm in a really good groove. I am doing 6 days of cardio now, 20 minutes each, so that's up from the last time we spoke, I think. And it's fine. Today's my first day off cardio in 10 days so it's like a little treat, it's like a reward, but I am enjoying it. I'm not having any problems with it. I do enjoy going to the gym to do it more than I do doing it at home on the bike, but if I'm working, I will do it at home. Food is almost unchanged, except we have gotten rid of the bread in my eggs meal. That is my first meal on a rest day in the office. I will now do that. I'll have eggs, avocado and strawberries, and then I have a kind of in the middle of the day at some stage on my training days, because I just train with my squares bar in at the moment as my pre-workout for the early mornings. So yeah, that brings me to about 1800 calories on my rest days, and then 2000 I think on my training days. So the 1800 like does feel like a little bit of a push downwards, but it's clearly working. Like, I have been consistently dropping weight every day this week, so it has been a huge relief. Now, what is going to happen next week? I'm going to be on my cycle, so let's see how that goes, but I'm looking forward to it. I feel a lot more relaxed, a lot more refreshed, and ready to trust the process again. And yeah, ready to go see Emma next week, pick my bikini, just keep working, because I am enjoying it now. I have to say, like, training has felt really good with the exception of today and the discomfort. I have been progressing. I've been really happy with performance. I've been happy with recovery. I've been doing as much posing as I can in the time that I have. My cardio has been intentional, it's been good. My food has been 100%. We got a creamy as well. Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the secret ingredient to the weight loss. We got a creamy. So final meal every night now is ice cream, which is so good. So overall, yeah, week 3 has been good. I'm happy with week 3 and ready for week 4. But I will wrap it up now after that update, finish it on a light note. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I know that a few of you are enjoying using these vlogs as a time passer for cardio, which was my goal. So thank you so much. That makes me really happy. I hope that I can continue to provide that for you. I will see you next week for week 4 for maybe Bikini Day and whatever else the week might bring. So thank you so much and have a lovely week.